This is the Enjoyer Podcast. I'm your host, James Dixon. My guest today is Mike Rogers. He ran for Senate in 2024. He's running again in 2026. It's one of the most exciting campaigns. It's one of the races that everyone in America is watching. And we have him on the Enjoyer Podcast. Mike, thank you for coming back to the Enjoyer.
Thanks for having me. It's always good to be with you.
So let's talk about timing, right? So when you ran last year, right, you declare in September 2023 for a race that's in November 2024. A little more than a year, a little less than a year until primary, until primary votes. This time you're up in April 2025 for November 2026. Why'd you jump in so much earlier this time?
I think we got in too late. So if you think about what happened last go round, we had a primary. Mm-hmm. We raised 70% of our money after the primary. Too late. So one of the reasons we didn't really have an ad campaign in September, and the Democrats, by the way, spent $12 million calling me everything but by my Christian name.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I didn't even like myself in September. I mean, it was just brutal. None of it true, but that didn't stop them and won't stop them this time.
Oh, let's just play some ominous music and it all sounds true. Right?
Exactly, and put black and white images and all of that. And so what we said is, okay, if we're going to do this, we can't get in that late. We've got to get in early enough to start building out the team. Here's the good news on that. We got more Republican votes than any other Michigan candidate, office holder or seeker in the history of the state by like 300,000 votes. So that means we have enough votes in the bank. We just have to have a turnout model that gets folks to show up to the poll to vote. We think we can do that, but in order to do that, you have to get in earlier. You have to build out your team earlier. And as you can see, the momentum we've had in the last couple of months, all of that is building for that.
It's made a big difference.
Yeah, it sure has.
Why was that the timing previously? From the coverage, it almost sounds like you were like recruited to do it, and that came together fairly late in the game.
Yeah. So Donald Trump told a pretty large audience he had something to do with recruiting. I'll let his word stand for that. And again, all of it just got started late. It wasn't something I got up in the morning and said, "Oh my gosh, I have to be a United States Senator. Won't that be cool?" Had never had that feeling about the office. I do think it's an important place to do really important things for the state of Michigan that desperately needs help.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened in the last process. And listen, if we'd have gotten beat by 3 points, my wife and I sat down and talked about it afterward. If it was 3 points, you go, okay, got our fannies handed to us, time to move on. It was 0.3%, about 232 votes per county difference. And we looked at that and said, you know what, we got outspent 5-1. Didn't raise 70% of our money after primary. If we do some things different, could we, win this seat for the people of the state of Michigan? And we looked at it and said, yes. And all the right, folks were saying, hey, you really need to do this. Not only here at home in the state, which is the most important thing, but we had, Tim Scott, who's the National Republican Senate. Matter of fact, he called me early, and I would joke with him often, trying to get me to do this. And I said, listen, if you can convince my wife, we probably can go through this nonsense. You have to be crazy to do it once. I think you have to be really crazy to do it twice.
You know what they say about when people need like a knee replacement? They say you got to get them both done at once because it's so painful. No one's ever going to go back for the second one.
That's a good point.
And so in this case, it seems like the two campaigns back to back has almost become an unfair advantage, where you've essentially been running for a Senate seat, if not this exact one, since September 2023.
I don't think I would call it an unfair advantage. I would call it an earned advantage. Because you earn it when you're, these things are not easy and certainly not for the faint of heart. And we looked at all that investment, which is one of the reasons we made the decision to go again. All the people that we asked for money, all the people we asked for time, and there were so many great people across the state, knocked on doors, handed out literature, made phone calls, really significant, and made a difference. That's how you can, by the way, get spent outspent 5-1.
And it'd be that close.
And be that close.
Yeah,
it was
within
people on the
20,000
ground
votes.
that were doing this. And we've gotten those people and that excitement back. And so I don't look at it as an unfair advantage. You know, our opponent last time started in January of the year prior to the election and had a clear primary shot. So she did two things. She raised money and basically was this, nobody laid a glove on her for almost 2 years.
Absolutely.
And so she used all that to her advantage.
Which could lead to an impression that there's not a glove to be laid, that there's nothing there, that this person actually is above reproach.
Yeah, it created completely the wrong narrative. And what happened to us, too, is the Democrats got to create a narrative around who we were. We really never got to tell the story about who we are. You know, I'm really, she wasn't really from Michigan. I've been in Michigan. I've been here over 55 years. I worked in factories here in Michigan, my whole adult life here in Michigan. So when you look at families here, all of that got lost in the way that they did the race. And we had to think about, okay, how do we respond with a limited amount of resources in September and October? That's, and that's what the race that you saw. And could we have done it better? I'm absolutely convinced we could have done it better. We were fighting along, we were bumping along the bottom, as we said on many days. Not this time. And so think of this, in the first 90 days, we had over 123 co-chairs around the state signed up to say, I'm in, we're going to help, we're going to do doors, we're going to do all the things we have to do to win. We were hoping to have every county covered by December. We had it in the first 90 days. People are ready to win this seat. And what we did is we showed you can win Michigan. I mean, look at the odds that were against us and what we were able to do. And that was mostly people power. That was really, really, really important to that. And so all of these other things are falling into place. Obviously, President Trump's endorsement early helped and will help. And we were excited to get it last week when he came in and said, I'm all in, I'm all in, I'm all in, and which is really, really helpful, which means, by the way, he'll come to the state, he'll do other things, frees up our ability to raise money nationally, really important to keep up with the Democrats. I think they have a money printing machine somewhere, those Democrats, unbelievable.
Yeah, called Act Blue.
Yeah.
So what did you learn in those 6 months? I mean, it really worked out perfectly, pretty much 6 months between the end of election 2024, devastating loss. Probably, I mean, you could tell me, is it worse to lose close or is it worse to lose big? I mean,
I think it's, well, I haven't
lost big.
I haven't lost big, and I won a close one, and I know how that felt. I won by 111 votes when I ran for Congress, when I first ran for Congress. And now I've just lost by 0.3%. It hurts, because you're always asking yourself, what if we'd have done that? What if we'd have done that? What if we'd have moved some money up or whatever?
How do you spend that time? Like I imagine part of it, right, is licking the wounds.
Yeah, a little bit. Listen, the good news about, being a military officer and being a law enforcement guy and being somebody that's been through politics, you kind of know, listen, don't let it consume you. It's unhealthy. And so what my wife and I did is took our moment and said, yep, this is awful. Let's not do this again. And then we moved out, and I had a business to try to rebuild, and was doing some of those things as well. And as my wife jokes when we decided to get back in, she goes, well, at least we had Christmas off.
That's exactly it. And so I think it ended up being probably a nice chance to refresh.
Yeah.
And that first one, maybe you knock off some of the rust, right? It had been a minute.
No, completely. You have to get your sea legs back. And it wasn't like it was in a national race. We just didn't rise up. And part of that was, by the way, we had so many Republicans working against the Republican Party. That never helps.
It's a constant problem.
Oh, it's a huge problem. And so what happens is nationally they say, you can't win in Michigan. I mean, they were telling me that going into the fall of 24. Oh, you just can't win. Michigan can't.
Well, with that attitude, you can't win Michigan.
That's exactly right. And so I kept saying, no, we can. We're tied. They said, we've heard this before. You don't get much closer to being tied than what we did. And so our polling was accurate. Our work was, we just never slowed down. We ran through the tape. But this time, and I'm spending some time with pockets of people who are still saying, I don't know. Hey, you want to win? do you want to win? Do you want a Republican in the Senate helping Donald Trump right now, or the Democrat that we sent who works against the president every single day she's there? And what do you think we're going to get if we put another Democrat in there?
And there's another argument to be made, too. I mean, so Trump's not going to be on that next year ballot. I see videos from Slotkin all the time. She's obviously gone all in on having this social media presence. They're not just a representative of ours. To some extent, they're a public face of Michigan. And so every time Alyssa Slotkin's on TV calling, ICE the Gestapo or things to that effect, that makes people, I get those texts. I'm sure you get those texts. Like, what are you guys doing? What are you guys sending to Washington? And that's something I think people need to think about. Who do you want to be your representative to the world?
Yeah, and I will guarantee you that all this and the Democrat Party this year has a very messy primary for the U.S. Senate. And that's good. It's good for Republicans to see who they really are. Now they're all saying all the things you expect. They have a hefty transgender ideology. They don't like tax cuts. They don't like Donald Trump. But I'm a centrist. This is exactly what happened in the last election as well. And we sent someone back, and their whole purpose is to beat up Donald Trump and try to repair the Democrat Party. I don't know about you, but everybody I talk to cares about their job. They care about their kids' education. They care about a state that has lost manufacturing jobs under Democrat leadership, lost population under Democrat leadership, and are ready for something different. And so we've got to stop for a minute and think, what is better for where we are today? I think having a Republican senator being able to walk into the president of the United States and say, here's what we need in Michigan. I'm going to be an advocate for Michigan. You can't have that when every other day your whole purpose is to bolster up the Democrat Party and trash the president.
Absolutely.
It doesn't work. And so that I don't care about all that. I'm not going back there to rebuild the Republican Party. I'm going back there to represent Michigan and Michigan families. And I think what a huge opportunity. The president loves Michigan. We should take full advantage of that and do the kinds of things here at home that we can get done for Michigan working families.
What you just said, I think, is an important point. I wonder if that's a messaging opportunity, which is Slotkin basically pulled a switcheroo. She acted as a moderate, and then she became her real self once elected. The Slotkin switcheroo. And so when they try the same thing, it's likely that the same thing would happen, right? If you buy the moderate, you're going to get the leftist.
Yeah, completely. They're all saying it. Oh, we'll be the more centrist candidate. Listen to their rhetoric now. And the good news about them having a primary, and this is like a hot dumpster fire for them. This is good for us because they're pulling themselves to the left. They're expressing who they truly are, and you'll get a sense of who they are and where they want to take the state. None of them have a connection with working families in Michigan. Listen, I have a really great, I think, I'm blessed with this. I have punched a time clock. I worked in a factory. Great work. I enjoyed it. That money helped me go to college. It was really important for me. I have signed the back of checks for a big part of my life. Somebody else, paid me to do something. And in the last 10 years, I've had the opportunity to be in business, to help sign the front of the check. And I'm going to tell you, that's a great experience too, because now you know what Washington does to you in a real way, fundamental way. Philosophically we can know it, but when it hits you in the face, that's
when that business owner, when you have to cut that check, rather than it's just taken out of payroll. Very different experience.
Very different experience. You know that experience. And so my argument is, none of them have that opportunity. They're very much government solves all problems, and the bigger the government is, the better off we're all going to be. That we all know that's not true. And so that personal experience about what it means to work here, work in a factory here, have a family here. I mean, this is really, really important to me, which is why I'm doing this again. Candidly, I don't have to do it. I want to do it. And I think it's important to get the right person to walk in, to work with the president, do really important things for Michigan.
Absolutely. The field is not much of a field anymore. We just had Bill Huizenga on the west side of the state say he's not going to do this. And so now I look at the Democrats. You have McMorrow, who probably could have been a senator again if she wanted to, a state senator. Now she's not going to have that seat. Haley Stevens can't go back to Congress. Someone's going to lose something regardless of who ultimately wins the race. The field opening up to this extent and this early, is that actually a good thing?
I think it is. Listen, I had a primary. People say, oh, primaries are good. Well, maybe not always. Had a primary. All the factions of the Republican Party were represented in that primary. I did almost 2/3 of all the votes came to me. We've proven this point. Donald Trump endorsed me last time. He stepped up early, endorsed me this time. He told me, hey, listen, I need somebody to help me. I've got all these executive orders that need to be legislated. I need some help back here, and I need somebody who knows how to do it. That's why he's endorsing me. And when you look at the numbers, I'm beating every Democrat, tied with one in this way early polling. That's huge. We haven't been there. I have really good, strong name ID across the state. My favorables, despite the negative advertising, which again was not true, is up. We're up by 5 points, which is crazy. I mean, my wife used to watch the ads in September and say, I don't know who that guy is, but I'm not voting for him. Right? That's not my husband. And so I think of all of those factors, and now guess what? We get to build out our infrastructure starting now. We have no impediments to doing that. We don't have to refocus and beat on each other. That's all done. And so what we can do now is focus on building it out. And why that's important? I want to win every race. I want to win back the state Senate. I want to win back, keep the state house. I want to put a governor in that understands that business in this state is under siege, and people will vote with their feet. They will leave. We need to stop
Before trying to fix it, absolutely.
Yes. And by the way, you want your kids and your grandkids to stay here because they want to stay here and they have opportunity here, not because they're forced to be here, because they have opportunity here. We are the party of realizing that opportunity for so many families here, but we just need give us the opportunity, and we're going to make this happen. Renaissance of Michigan manufacturing is coming. We're going to make us, a premier state to build things again.
Yes, make Detroit build again.
Yes.
But I wonder if there's some iron sharpens iron benefits in going at each other. What have you found to be true throughout your career in politics? Like, do you want an open field, or does it actually help to have some live reps? Because really, you're not going to face a competitor truly until next August.
They're all already attacking me. I have competitors. I have I have a bunch of them, and so
they're not waiting. For the end.
No. They attack me about. I was just talking to my press person. She says they attack you about once a day on a slow day. We have competitors. We're already battling the battle of ideas. If I hadn't had a primary last go round, maybe I would make the case that maybe we should do that. But here's the problem: our primaries are so late. Think of that. 70% of the money I raised came after the August primary. One of the reasons I couldn't get up on TV in September, we didn't have enough money in the door to buy TV ads in September. That doesn't help anybody. I've gone through a tough race. We hung in there despite the odds and the overwhelming, wash of Democrat cash, and we almost did it. That's enough. I think we've earned the opportunity to take a straight run at this. And here's the good news. They told us we had the best ground game in the country. That's what the Senate campaign told us in Washington, and they get to see them all. We hit 750,000 doors and 4 million voter contacts, just Rogers for Senate. So what that tells us is if we can build up on that even more, we're going to make up those 230 votes per county. That's why that's why you want us building this up. And when our gubernatorial candidate comes out of that primary, they're going to be bruised, battered, and broke. And I know that because I came out of the primary looking a lot like that. And what we're going to do is pick that candidate up, whoever comes out. We're going to plug them into our ground game, saying we're here to help. We're going to do this together. We're going to present a Republican effort that we just haven't seen in this state in 30 years. And we're going to do it here in Michigan. We're going to have the resources. We have the support from the national folks, really, really important to win, because the Democrats will be here spending, I heard a figure of $200 million here. like me today, you won't like me in 6 months, and your TV won't like me either. All the ads coming back, both negative, hopefully positive. That's all coming. But what that means for us, I think, in Michiganders is now we can focus on it. So can we get the wing of the kind of libertarian-leaning Republicans? I think we can. When I go out and meet with them and talk to them, they have a much better understanding. And what I just challenge people, if you saw it on TV and it was an ad from someone who is advocating something, I'm going to bet there's not a lot of truth not in that thing. Hear it from the horse's mouth, hear it from who we are. Let's start building this team so that we can send Donald Trump some help in the Senate to get done the things that will help Michigan manufacturing, Michigan families.
And I think about the Trump effect. We watched the video with Charlie LaDuff, right?
Yeah.
Trump has closed down the southern border. We are getting a lot fewer people through illegally. So the executive has done his job. Congress hasn't done their job. I mean, we've only had, in Lansing, 6 laws passed. We've had even less than that in Washington. Lansing's divided between Democrats and Republicans. Republicans control all of Washington. You can help get the message out there. How much is the inaction of the congressional Republicans going to hurt you?
Well, here's the thing. I understand how it works. I'm going back. I'm going to be pulling the cart, which means they're going to have to work a little
I'm talking about going into the election.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I do
because
think
it gives people the impression that it doesn't matter who wins because they're not going to do a thing for you.
Yeah, it does. They're just slower. So, I mean, the president has been hyperactive in the first 4 months of office. I mean, it feels like he's been there 4 years. I mean, all the things he's been able to accomplish.
Day one alone was incredible.
Completely. And by the way, it tells you that, as Biden was saying, well, we need all these laws to close the border. No, you didn't need laws. You needed a new president.
You needed the wherewithal to enforce them. And I wonder how much that's true of Ronald Reagan in 1986, too.
Yeah.
You're the executive of the country. Why are you telling me you need the help of Congress and you need to give amnesty to do border enforcement?
Yeah.
It just doesn't sound true.
No. And this is where the importance is. And this is why, and I had the occasion to talk with President Trump about this, about legislating on the executive orders. And I'll tell you why that's important. Because he's got, by the time this election's over, he'll have 2 years left. And the Democrats are already, calling for impeachment.
They're going to try to impeach him again. Sri Danadar, one of our guys here,
is already at it. And they're all talking about it. And they're trying to stop everything that he's doing, including the fact that we just gave no tax on overtime to 3 million Michigan families. 3 million. This is huge, so impactful. But what happens is if we don't legislate, if the Republicans don't get the legislation piece done, then Democrats can undo it like that. We don't want that. We want long-term border security and stability. We want long-term economic growth possibilities here in the state of Michigan and around the country. And that means you have to legislate on those executive orders, make them law. And so that's what we've got to work on. And yeah, you're right. I mean, we've got to keep them going. Thankfully, the Senate is staying in to do nominations for the president's nomination. I mean, let's go.
To what do you attribute the inaction? There's really no excuse.
Yeah, I mean, other than the Senate is a different body.
Because people thought the House and the Senate, they thought that this was a true mandate. Popular vote. House, Senate, we've given you everything.
Yeah.
Nothing's resulted from it. Very little has resulted from it. Why?
Well, I will say the big, beautiful bill it will have tremendous, I think, positive impact on the country. And let me just mention a few of those. That is not an easy lift because you get 435 people in the House, and I'll guarantee you got 435 different ideas. Same with the Senate.
I mean, they could barely agree on a lunch order if they needed to.
I think that's right. Or turn the lights on in the morning if you have a big fight about it. And so it does take leadership, and that's why I think you send back a guy that has a good breadth of leadership to get something done right away. I don't have no on-the-job training for me when I get there to push them into decisions and keep them moving. But just think of that bill for just a second and why that was so monumental. You had all the tax people, all the border security folks. They all had to work on a project, bring it all together, and get it in a bill. sounds easy, hard to do, because every Democrat is working against you. They're nicking you in the back of the leg every time you take a step, because they don't want you to be successful, because they care more about their Democrat Party than I think they do care about America. And so what we've got to do, or let me just talk about that coming together and what that resulted in, just for Michigan. So think of every waitress out there you meet today, or when you go to a restaurant, who may be a second job, maybe their full-time job, just got no tax on tips. Huge impact on their family. Same with those 3 million Michigan families, no tax on overtime. Huge, huge. The fact that they stopped the largest tax increase in the history means over $5,000 in real money to the average Michigan family. $5,000.
Firing those 26,000 IRS agents. I mean, this is huge stuff.
No, it's serious. And then all of the stuff that's in there on border security, right? That Democrats, again, voted against. And I just want to say this on Medicaid. It's really important. Everybody take a deep breath. I see your chipmunk is back. I can hear him talking. He sounds like a Republican. I think those are cheers.
We need to harvest that vote.
I think we do. I love that. I will say that what they're talking about is they took almost 1.4 million illegals off of Medicaid, so that Medicaid is strong for the people who need it, who it was designed for. Seniors in need, children, pregnant mothers, the disabled. They also said, hey, if you're an able-bodied person and you can work part-time, 20 hours a week, you probably should. Good for you. Good for your
Which in the 90s was something even Bill Clinton was on board with.
Yes. And so they're counting those people who choose not to work 20 hours as a cut. Please.
Right. And they're talking about illegals as a cut. And it's all designed because they know the media is not going to be honest, A. And they know people don't actually read stories. And so if I put it in the headline, especially with paywalls, I know that's all most people will read, is what my headline says. And to the extent people believe me, they'll believe that. And so that's why we spend so much time going at the media. How have you, in the aggregate, been treated by the media, would you say?
Oh, look at the time. But, I have to tell you, it's one of the things when I got back in last year, and again, been in the private sector for 10 years, this was so disappointing to me that how partisan the media, even outlets that you would assume would be at least fair, if not a little right-leaning, because left has so many outlets, didn't happen. Matter of fact, they had the same problem. And
Detroit News, allegedly they were the conservative paper.
That's all gone.
Which is true in 1873 when it was founded, less so 150 plus years later in the current day.
I am shocked at how far they've gone away from that. They don't even pretend anymore to have any notion of, and I would argue fairness too. I mean, some of the stuff that they did on us was so absolutely.
They didn't do any of the Slotkin scoops. So when we did, the first time she ever voted was in 2018 for herself. They didn't touch that. She's a fake farmer, and she said she was a farmer in a group of real farmers. They didn't touch that. And so we were publishing these things on the Enjoyer and the New York Post, reputable publications. And when I was a reporter at the Detroit News, those were always bad days. But I remember it happening where if the opposition has something you don't, you have to go get caught up. They've gone away from even that right now. So you literally had this conspiracy against truth in that race.
What drove me crazy is when our adversaries were out there saying things that were provably not true. We would tell the newspaper, hey, this is provably not true. You can check. Nothing. Wouldn't do it.
And then Slotkin, like I call this thing idea laundering, where a politician will make a claim. The news will print that claim. And then the politician prints what the news printing the claim.
Yeah.
And so if you look back at those debates, Slotkin was basically using the Detroit News as her muscle.
Oh, completely. And by the way, they've already started. It's very disappointing to me because I do think balance is important. I get where the Free Press was and always was, right? They tended to
the Free was so pro-Democrat that they were pro-slavery at one point. So they've always been gone.
Is that true? I didn't know.
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
Oh my.
Absolutely. I mean, if you read some of their stuff from 1830s to the Civil War, it's disgusting.
Oh boy.
I mean, they were, pro-lynching. I mean, all kinds of bad stuff they've been involved in. So we don't have high expectations of the free.
Exactly.
But what I don't get about it is you're covering the thing politics, where there's only 2 teams.
Yeah.
It's not like the NFL, there's 32 teams. You might be a Bengals fan, but living in Detroit. There's 2. There's 2. Wouldn't it make the most sense, just from a business standpoint, you don't have to be a fan of anyone. Be hard on everyone. Why don't they do that?
This is the greatest question of all time. And by the way, you're seeing this in late night TV. The fact that they are
funny is not the game anymore.
No, they weren't funny. And by the way, they were really partisan. And people, I don't know about you, like if I want to be entertained, I don't want to hear your partisan views, screamed at me.
My mom was a Leno girl. And in the 90s, I remember, probably should have been up.
Yeah,
a lot of the time. But I remember him going hard at Clinton. The Lewinsky affair, I mean, it was a free-for-all.
Yeah.
To an extent that it's not now. What's your read on what has changed?
Boy, I'm not sure how it's changed and what brought about that change.
But it clearly has.
Oh my gosh. And, then it can't be, you can't be a little bit in, like I got to make fun of, fill in the blank, President Trump or whoever. Now I got to be against president. And they would come out and do these monologues that were not funny. They were political. And I thought, who watches that? There's a reason that MSNBC and CNN and others, their ratings are dropping, right? I mean, there's a reason that happens. And so late night just went in. And by the way, when you lose $20 million a year and you're in a for-profit business, 1 year's too much.
Usually you stop.
Yeah, you stop doing it. Yeah, you stop doing it. They just kept doing it. And my argument is, were you trying to subsidize this conversation?
Right.
Because you clearly weren't making money.
That was dark money in politics. That was not
Oh my
comedy.
gosh, I almost think you're right.
Yeah.
And so the good news, I think a lot of Americans saw through it. Matter of fact, I heard there was something got cut the other day. I was listening on the radio and they brought the person on. I won't say what it was. And they were going and talking about how they've lost money for 5 years. They couldn't make it work. And he said, well, what do you think? And they said, this year they lost money. That year they lost. And they said, what do you think? Oh, well, Donald Trump's cuts did that. They hadn't made money in 5 years. The reason things close is if you can't make money or at least pay the bills. It drives me crazy. There's this new attitude out there that I think is dangerous.
We do have to talk about last year. Obviously a very close race. And what I was hoping to see in those debates especially, we had the oppo about fake farmer. We had the oppo about carpetbagger. Why didn't you drop those bombs for the viewing public? And what's going to happen this time?
Yeah, so I think part of our calculation was could we present ourselves in a way that allowed people to say, that's the guy I want working for me. And we were a little concerned going into the debates that we just hadn't had that opportunity because we didn't have money up in September. And so I would argue, now that we look back, probably a miscalculation. We probably didn't have the luxury of saying, I'm the guy that you want. If you had to look at the two of us, who would you want working for you in Washington, D.C.? And I think it was a miscalculation, clearly. And so we'll be more interested in pointing out differences in this go-round than we did last time in the debates. I'm fairly confident of that.
I feel like I'm seeing elements of that already, right? On your website, you're talking about, you call him McMorrow McMarxist, which shout out to Anna Hoffman, Shoes On Please on Twitter. Great piece of messaging. You call Haley Stevens Miss Kentucky. Are these an indication that there is going to be more of that combative approach this time?
Well, we don't look at it combative. We look at this as an opportunity to point out where they're coming from. There's a reason they attack the guy that has more time in Michigan as not being from Michigan than they do, because they haven't been here. They're not part of our culture. They haven't worked in factories. They haven't been part of our family here in Michigan and all the trials and tribulations in the last 50 years. I have. And so what we decided is last time they got away with it, this time they're not getting away with it. And so if you look at where these people are, and by the way, Haley Stevens called herself, Miss Kentucky along the way. My argument is, okay, fine, you can own that if you'd like to own that. And we're just pointing it out so people can make a better decision. Because The press didn't do it. The press didn't correct the record. Weren't interested in it. We just talked about that. They had no interest.
You were treated as more of a carpetbagger than Alyssa Slotkin,
who was a carpetbagger.
Moved here to be a politician.
Who was a carpetbagger.
She would have not, if there was no such thing as politics, there's no way she moves back to Michigan in 2017 to run in 2018.
No. And you all picked up on a lot of the things that the press wouldn't pick up on, it, which is pretty serious. Like you say you own a farm. You get a farm tax credit.
Ain't no farming happening.
There was not even a tomato plant.
That's a matter of honor at that point, you know?
But you guys picked up on all of that. And my argument is, okay, bad on us. We didn't use the debate as an opportunity to do that. We just won't have that luxury this time.
Absolutely. I do think about the primary field, and I was reading MERS. 2 of their 4 pundits in the roundup that ran yesterday said, if your name's not Mike Rogers, might as well drop out of the race. And, you know, while saying that the governor's race is obviously a lot more clouded and you don't know, does that sense of inevitability actually help you? Or does it create because I saw McMorrow trying to capitalize on it, saying, aha, they're not having a real primary. We're the party of democracy. Forget what happened with Bernie Sanders, 2 straight election cycles. But you know,
or taking Joe Biden out by the knees and appointing their right. presidential nominee
through an unsigned letter. So I mean, but
other than those,
could that sense of inevitability and that narrative actually work against you?
No, and I'll tell you why. This is absolutely 100% earned. Nobody gave us anything. You look at what we were able to put together last year against the winds on the national front of you can't win. Mm-hmm. Michigan, we can't win Michigan. Mm-hmm. That was the narrative we had to fight against. Oh, by the way, you come back home, there's fractions of our party saying we can't win. We just can't win. If you don't look exactly
damn
like
near
this.
not wanting to win.
There are some cases where I think there were and I do believe that there are parts of our party that aren't really Republicans. Mm-hmm. They're either hardcore libertarians or Democrats getting mm-hmm. it. If the only thing you do when you're in a part of our party is work against Republicans, you are not a Republican.
If it quacks like a duck, if it walks like a duck, it's a duck.
And so we've been helping try to bridge those gaps and getting people to understand, listen, because they're good on social media, doesn't mean it's truthful and doesn't mean it's in the best interest of you, your mm-hmm. family, or the state. And so nobody gave us anything. We've earned it. And we also just started out, as I said, we're well over 160 now, co-chairs around the state, and that's growing every day. People are coming to us. You earn that. That's through hard work. That's not inevitable anything. And so I'm glad that all 3 of the Democrats are talking about us. That's good. That all 3 of the leading Democrats are attacking us. That's good.
Whoever the race is about wins the race.
And right now they're saying it's about me. And you know
that's what worries me in the governor's race.
That we don't have that.
It's shaping up that the race is about Mike Duggan.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I mean, as a candidate, third parties literally affected you last year, mm-hmm. right?
Yes.
Third parties in the Senate race got 5 times the amount of votes you would have needed to have won the race. So just some peeling off of that, and let alone a third party candidate like Duggan's doing that actually looks strong in their own right. How does the Duggan dynamic in a different race affect you in this one? Does it affect you?
Well, I'm optimistic about the fact that some people now will split their tickets. So you look at where he's going to draw votes, mm-hmm. Detroit, Wayne County suburbs, mm-hmm. right? That we have mixed bag as Republicans of trying to attract votes there. This is good for us. I think it gives us the opportunity to peel some of those votes because they're going to split their ticket. So if you're going to split it once, you might as well split it twice. How about a guy that actually cares about you, been through, have walked a mile in your shoes here in this state? Let's put that guy back there to fight for this state. And so we think that there's messaging and other things that we can do to work through mm-hmm. the fact that people are going to split their ticket. And, I always say with third parties, the big cliff you get to is after our primary, the Republican and Democrat primary is done, right? Then the real work, you got to pick up your pieces and get going. Mm-hmm. If you're an independent, who do you call in Traverse City County? Right? There's
That's
no
the thing.
Independent
What's
chair.
the plan?
Yeah.
I don't get how it's going to work But it does make me wonder, A, does there need to be an independent opponent for Mike Duggan? Like, don't let this guy just skate through. And B, what would happen if an independent joined this race and split that 3 ways too?
Yeah, listen, the less opponents for me, the better, I always believe. And people will take their angst and it will outlet in different ways on a ballot. What we're going to focus on is trying to bring as many people together now on this as we can. We've done really well in the ethnic communities. We won Dearborn last time. We're going to win Dearborn again. And all of our ethnic communities. I did twice as well with black males in Detroit than Donald Trump. Now, we didn't think we would do that well or that much better, but we did because we focused on it.
You were getting the FaceTime out there.
Yes, and we had coalitions built and we did all of that and it paid off. So we think that we still have an opportunity to do well in non-traditional Republican communities, if that makes sense. Because when you look at the issues, we are so closely aligned. The education, the prosperity of future prospects here for our kids, jobs, the economy, affordability, housing. We have solutions for all of those things, and we actually do them. Unlike the Democrats who will tell you they will talk a good game, and they believe if you give more money to HUD, then your local housing issue gets fixed. It doesn't. We've seen that. That's
exactly it. One party grows the government, the other one invests in the people.
Yes.
That's the winner to me. The governor's race is the top of the ticket, right? I think the Senate race is just as important, but it will be the first one. I'm trying to train Republicans. You have to think of this as a 3-person race because it will be. So I'm going to give you a name. I want you to fill in the blank. The best compliment to Mike Rogers for Senate. Benson, Duggan, blank. Blank is the Republican.
The best compliment to Mike Rogers is the Republican.
Which Republican?
Listen, I'm friends with all of them. I think
they're good guys. Yeah, I like them all. But I mean, there's some names that you would have to be like, that doesn't help me. That doesn't help me.
This is a good shot that you're taking here, but I am not biting on this one. Good try, though. Really good try. Listen, here's the good news. Again, because we have time to build our infrastructure, we are going to be able to be supportive of that Republican candidate who comes out of that race, which to me is really, really important. That ground game is how we won, or almost won, I should say. We're going to win this time. And so that's going to help that gubernatorial candidate. We're going to grab him and we're going to start working together. That's what to me is really important. They're going to have to work this out. I don't think all the names you see today are even going to make the ballot.
No.
A lot of people don't realize how hard it is to get on the ballot. And so I think there are going to be ups and downs, and there'll be people who are winning today and losing tomorrow. The fundraising game you saw that. That already starts to put a little stress on some of these candidates. And so we'll see what happens. And, again, ideally, you have this and then they all coalesce in spring versus waiting till August. That's not going to happen. That would be the ideal, because then you could come out of this and kind of really put a team together to win in November. But the good news is having a competitive Republican open seat is good for the open U.S. Senate seat. And I think Republicans are ready for a change in this state after what's happened to the business community in the last 8 years here. Population, just business opportunity leaving, missing out on big manufacturing deals. All of that's because of Democrat policies in Lansing. You change that, and you get a Republican in the Senate who walks down and says, "It's Michigan's turn. Let's get going." Man, the future of the state's going to be very bright.
It's funny because all my life, whether it's childhood, when I was first born, you had opposite, where Lansing would be controlled by a Democrat and Washington by a Republican. And it just seems like it'd be a huge opportunity to have everybody on the same page for once. You said something I thought was interesting, where when you don't have a primary in your race, you're actually going to probably be in better financial shape and just better shape by the time the Republican ends theirs. I'm kind of envisioning this as a super ticket, right? Where we think of the ticket as governor and lieutenant. I think the real ticket in 2026 is governor, Senate, Secretary of State, Attorney General. 4 people, statewide races, all on the same page. Is that workable?
I think it is, and we're going to, if we got to put everybody in a room and bump heads a little bit, we'll have to do that. We haven't had that in a long time in the state.
Democrats have come the closest.
Yes.
With what we have right now.
They tend to fall in line, and one thing about the Republican Party, there's no lemmings here. There ain't no lemmings going over the border or the cliff. People are very fiercely independent, and that's a good thing. That's what draws us to the Republican Party. We like that fierce independentness, and it's okay that we have differences of ideas. For a while there, people took that as, well, I can't be for Republicans. That's just not true. We're starting to mend that. We're out having conversations with all factions of the party.
Absolutely.
And now, when we get all of those statewide leaders in the room saying, we're going to do this together, right, to win for the state. It's not about me. Certainly isn't about, if this is about Mike Rogers, I'm in the wrong business. It needs to be about the state and what we can do for the people of Michigan. And same with the governor's race, and same with these other statewide races. And then, cooperate where the law allows us to cooperate, and continue to message, because we can all do that all day long, about why this is good for the state of Michigan. And we'll still have a Democrat in the U.S. Senate, so you don't have to worry about that. They'll have their ideas represented for sure. And I'll work with anybody, by the way. Somebody asked me, I will absolutely work with the current U.S. Senator from the state of Michigan to help the state of Michigan. That, to me, is the most important thing we can do. And I'll work with any president. I'll work with anybody that wants to help the people of the state of Michigan. And I think that's that's the difference that we're going to send back there.
Yeah. So we'll get you out of here on this one. You have 3, I'm going to say 3 real prospective opponents. I don't think Joe Tate's going to make the ballot, but you have, don't call me Dr. Abdul El Sayed. You have Congresswoman Haley Stevens. You have State Senator Mallory McMorrow, who's a heck of a fundraiser. Who do you think you will face next November?
So our staff talks about this now and again, and it's up and down.
It's like being in the Lions in the playoffs, right? It might be one of 4 teams you might face in the conference championship. Who do you prepare for?
Well, what we can prepare for, if you listen, there's a common theme amongst all of them, and it is to the left, right? One thing I've learned, as I said, working in a factory, 2 factories, by the way, being a part of Michigan for so long, even Democrats here are not these liberal, progressive California Democrats. That's not who we are. They're working people who believed at one time that the
normal
Party,
ones,
yes,
the ones we send to Lansing and Washington.
Well, it's
totally
because,
of a different character.
Again, it's that primary, right? It pulls them over, and so they're governing from this narrow band on the far left that I do think alienates a lot of Democrats. I talk to them all the time, and those disenfranchised Democrats, we're going to try to pull in because they care about their state too, and they're not really convinced. If you look at those 3 leading candidates, they are very traditional, progressive, left-leaning liberals.
Alyssa Slotkin's not walking through that door. She was able to, by the end of it, I was in a tire shop one time, look up, Alyssa Slotkin's on TV. She's damn near making it sound like she was going to arrest people at the border personally. Mallory McMorrow is not going to be able to do that convincingly.
Right.
So there's no middle to tack back to for them.
And Haley Stevens voted against all of that.
Right.
So she can say what she wants, but she voted against all of that. And missed an important vote on deporting illegals for a criminal act.
Trying to be cute, trying to not put it on the record, but that you
ridiculous.
Just put yourself on the record.
Yeah, and the "Don't call me doctor" is he is way pulling to the left. When you kind of invoke Mandami from New York City about bringing that,
that's
kind
their
of
role model.
That's dangerous. They want to run your grocery stores. I think the government doing that will give you a long line and very little bit of food. And so
we joke about bread lines. That's actually what they're running on nowadays.
Yeah, I want you to stand in a longer bread line. and you get one tomato, so pick wisely.
As you think about next year, what sign of hope do you have that it's going to be a good year for Republicans, not a 2022, the red wave that was, and actually was a blue wave in our state, nationally disappointing, and not a 2018?
So a couple of things. This is not the typical race. I've never seen two open seats, gubernatorial and Senate, in the same election year. I not in my lifetime.
Engler says it's never happened.
Yeah, and so you think about that. That's huge. People understand that what's coming out of Lansing under the Democrat leadership when they had everything is ruining our state's future. Our kids can't read. They can't do math. I mean, I've got just horrific stories about these people showing up trying to get work and can't read a tape measure because they can't do fractions. I mean, all of the kinds of things we know are happening. I think people are going to be fired up about coming out. We are having this optimistic renaissance of Michigan manufacturing, getting us back into building for the arsenal of democracy that we lost because we never had a good Senate advocate in the last 30 years trying to fight for this. Yeah. We think that optimism with both open seats, and I'll tell you, the economy is going to continue to get better. All of this tax, people blew right by the working family tax provisions in the big, beautiful bill. That's going to generate jobs in the economy. You see a little bit of that. Yes, tariffs are pulling and tugging and pulling. Every time he announces one of these trade deals, I was talking to a manufacturing today who said, that trade deal with the EU, and this is a guy that does automotive parts building, he said, is phenomenal. If you'd have told me I thought he could get it, I'd have called you crazy. He got it, right? And what are the Democrats doing? Fighting all of it, tooth and nail.
Yeah, the same people they said would never respect Trump or doing business with Trump, so now they must be bad people too.
Yeah.
Or lying.
Now everybody's bad and lying. But we're going to see it because it affects real people. That's the one thing about Donald Trump that I think people underestimate. Yep, you can say, I don't like his style, I don't like this, or I don't like that. The product is based on how can I help somebody who's struggling to get into the middle class and go from the middle class to the upper middle class, to have a job, have your kids, and I'll be fighting to make sure your kids want to stay here with you. Your grandkids want to come back to Michigan to work because there's such great opportunity. That's why I think this next year is going to be such a great year. And remember, we don't have to get one new voter. It's really kind of an odd race for a guy like me because we got so many Republican votes. If I get 85% people who just voted for me, not all the other ones, not even the third party group, so not all of that, to show up, I win. That's why when you look at the numbers, the raw numbers of it, this race looks so good and will be the number one race in the country. They've told us that a dozen times. I believe them.
And Morrow was just saying the same thing.
Yeah.
That someone came up to her saying that this is it. So this is it. The whole world is watching. Yeah. Are you ready for that spotlight?
You know what? I'm just going to do what I know how to do, and I'm going to do it on behalf of people I care about, which is everybody in this great state who wants this to be the premier place, wants to keep their kids here, wants their grandkids to choose to come back home. I think it can be. I know it will be if you send us all back to both Washington and Lansing to get this done. Make this the business-friendly state. Let's put the sign back up, open for business here in Michigan, and let me go back and advocate and help the governor on all the things we need to do. Fix education, make this a place where our industrial base wants to come back, our defense industrial base, to build things like ships and the Golden Dome, and the next generation of drones and other things that are going to help protect the United States. It can happen here. You send us back to both Lansing and Washington, D.C., and it will.
We'll actually get you out of here on this one. You mentioned working at two different factories.
Yeah.
Did you at any time work at the factory in Adrian that smells like rotten eggs?
I did not.
Okay.
I worked at a factory, it was called Cars and Concepts. They built convertibles. And then there was a company which was great. I mean, by the way, I think the minimum wage was at the time, I'm going to forget what it was, but it was like $2.13 or something. They were paying me $5 an hour. I think this was big.
So you were making what men were making in 1914 with Henry Ford and the $5 a day wage.
I'll tell you what, I needed it. I absolutely needed every dollar of it. But that was a great factory. And the one that did have some smell to it was I worked at a company called Thermofill, and we mixed all the components, and I was a line mixer, so I did it in this big vat. And then we would extrude it down and heat it up to about 600 degrees. and it would come out in streams, look like your fingers coming out of this machine, and it was really, really hot. But then you would chop it up and send it to the car companies. They would remelt it and make dashboards. So, people don't realize how many different steps there are. That was a great job too. I think I was making like $575. I mean, it was big money when you're talking back in the early '80s. When I was trying to put
a few gallons of gas there.
Yeah, oh boy, and you're trying to put money out. Listen, my dad, my parents did a lot for me. They didn't give us wealth. Mm-hmm. They just didn't have it. My dad was a shop teacher, and by the way, if you'd have said industrial arts, he'd have backhanded you. No, this is shop, and it's about metalworking, mechanics, ironwork, or woodworking. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, they didn't have a chance to give me riches, but they gave me wealth because they taught us how to work. Mm-hmm. They taught us the importance of work, and they always taught us, listen, you are no better or no worse than your neighbor, whoever it is. Mm-hmm. And that is their ethos and how they grew up. And they also taught us, how faith and family is so important in your life. You think of those things, it allowed a guy from kind of who didn't have a lot of money, middle of Michigan, went to the U.S. Congress. I mean, unbelievable. I was a special agent with the FBI, busting gangsters in Chicago. None of that could have happened if my parents didn't believe and give us those values. And I'm just telling you, it's not that complicated, but it seems to be missing. And if we can get back to that, I'm going to tell you, there's no stopping this state or this country.
We don't have to do anything special. No. We just have to get back to the basics and grandma's wisdom.
Yeah, my dad called it the 3 A's. The 3 R's. Look at that. My education
shows how much you learned, right?
I was off. He called it the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. He said, you stick with those and you'll be just fine.
He didn't mention social and emotional learning?
He did not. By the way, if I couldn't have read a tape measure, there'd been some woodshed time in my future. I mean, he was a pretty tough guy. He had this rule. He said, when you were 12, he'd probably be in jail today. At 12 years old, you had to have a job, play a sport, or work with him. Now, my dad was a tough guy. He was a tech sergeant in the Air Force and the Korea, and he became a football coach and all that. Tough guy. Funny, all 5 of us either played a sport or had a job.
No one wanted to go into the family business. It's so true. Mike, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this, and God bless.
God bless you. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.